Good afternoon, everybody. This is Steve Fletcher with the Trumpet for My People. Today is August 15th, 2019, and I want to share with you an amazing piece of information and the circumstances surrounding how this information came to me. First of all, I want to share with you that Brother Dennis Grant from Facebook shared a post with me earlier today about the connection between Shiloh and Tu B'Av. And once I took a look at his information, I saw something so amazing. I actually called Dennis and I said, thank you for what you sent to me. And I shared with him what I had seen through the information that he sent me. There were more connections made, and this is an amazing set of circumstances. So I want to share with you first what Dennis shared with me, and then I'm going to share with you what I saw out of the book of Samuel. So Dennis wrote this: Shiloh, the place where Tu B'Av started, Judges chapter 21, which is a picture of the wise and foolish virgins and the rapture and the pure virgin bride of Christ dressed in white who waits for their bridegroom, Jesus Christ. Shiloh, a picture of the rapture and the great tribulation. The wedding, as the virgin brides await their groom, and the destruction of Shiloh, symbolizing the great tribulation, wrath, and judgment. I found this very interesting, as Shiloh was also destroyed by the Philistines, the giants, the Nephilim descendants, in 1 Samuel 3 through 6, which reminds me of what will happen when the wise virgins will be taken to to be married at the wedding and marriage supper of the Lamb. And those satanic descendants of the Nephilim will destroy and be destroyed by fire after the restrainer is taken away. This is what I see. So we had shared in a previous message about Shiloh. Shiloh being a prophecy about the lawgiver returning. But Shiloh was the original location of the tabernacle, the original capital of Israel after they came out of Egypt and after they had wandered in the desert for 40 years. This was their original capital before Jerusalem. It was the location of the tabernacle for many years. This is the location of the tabernacle. This is the picture of Tu B'Av and the virgin, the single virgins waiting to be married on Tu B'Av when they went out into the fields. And then we have the prophecy of Genesis 49:10 that says, the scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from beneath his feet, until Shiloh comes, and to him shall be the obedience of the people. Judges chapter 21. Okay, now I want to go and give you some biblical foundation as to the importance of Shiloh, the connection to Tu B'Av, and the connection to the tabernacle. And then I'm going to share with you what I saw when Shiloh was destroyed. There was something dramatic, something very important that happened when Shiloh was destroyed, and a child was born. A child was born when Shiloh was destroyed. Judges chapter 21. Then they said, behold, there is a feast of the Lord in Shiloh yearly, in a place which is in the north side of Bethel, on the east side of the highway that goeth up from Bethel to Shechem, and on the south of Lebanon. So here we have a yearly feast that happens in Shiloh, and this is talking about the virgins that go up to find their husbands. And so this whole passage is talking about the yearly feast of Tu B'Av, the day of weddings in Israel, and the feast took place in Shiloh because Shiloh was the original capital of Israel. Then I want to share with you from 1 Samuel the situation at the time of the first prophet of Israel, before King David, before King Saul, and before the temple was built by Solomon in Jerusalem in the city of David. So the history before David, before Saul, before Solomon, before the first temple, we have the situation of the tabernacle and the location of the prophet Samuel. 1 Samuel 1. Now there was a certain man of Ramathaim Sophim of Mount Ephraim, and his name was Elkanah, the son of Jeroham, the son of Elihu, the son of Tohu, the son of Suph, an Ephrathite. And he had two wives. The name of the one was Hannah, and the name of the other was Peninnah. And Peninnah had children, but Hannah had no children. And this man went up out of his city yearly to worship and to sacrifice unto the Lord of hosts in Shiloh. And the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, the priests of the Lord, were there. This is the location of the temple where they would do the sacrifices in Shiloh. This man went up out of his city yearly to worship and to sacrifice unto the Lord of hosts in Shiloh. 1 Samuel 1, 9 and 10. So Hannah rose up after they had eaten in Shiloh and after they had drunk. Now Eli the priest sat upon a seat by a post of the temple of the Lord, and she was in bitterness of soul and prayed unto the Lord and wept sore. And this is where Hannah prayed to the Lord for her son when Samuel ended up being born. She prayed in Shiloh, and Samuel was brought to Shiloh. And when she had weaned him, she took him up with her with 3 bullocks and 1 ephah of flour and a bottle of wine, and brought him unto the house of the Lord in Shiloh. And the child was young. It was in Shiloh where Samuel was brought into the temple to Eli, and he was weaned and raised in Shiloh. 1 Samuel chapter 2, starting in verse 12. Now the sons of Eli were sons of Belial. They knew not the Lord. The priest's custom with the people was that when any man offered sacrifice, the priest's servant came while the flesh was in seething with a flesh hook of 3 teeth in his hand, and he struck it into the pan or kettle or cauldron or pot. All the flesh hook brought up the priest took for himself. So they did in Shiloh unto all the Israelites that came thither. And I believe, and I'm sharing this portion of this story with you because in the next 2 chapters, we're going to see that Shiloh was destroyed. The Ark of the Covenant was lost. Shiloh was destroyed. And there was always precursors to judgment. Here, the sons of the priest Eli, would take advantage of the offerings that were brought, and they would steal from the people. They would steal from the offerings that were brought to the Lord. They would keep the best parts of the offerings to themselves. And this is what this is talking about. The priest's custom with the people was that when any man offered sacrifice, the priest's servant came while the flesh was in seething with a flesh hook of 3 teeth in his hand, struck it into the pan or kettle or cauldron or pot. All that the flesh hook brought up from the priest took for himself. So they did in Shiloh unto all the Israelites that came hither. And so they would steal from the offerings that were brought unto the Lord. And I believe this was a precursor. And the reason why, when Shiloh was taken captive, when the Ark of the Covenant was stolen, that Eli and his sons died. And judgment was brought upon the city of God, Shiloh, because of the sins of the priests. Goes on to say in 1 Samuel chapter 3, and the Lord appeared again in Shiloh, for the Lord revealed himself to Samuel in Shiloh by the word of the Lord. So we have established that Shiloh was the original capital of Israel. This is where the tabernacle was. This is where Samuel was. This is where Eli and his sons were, in Shiloh. Now we're going to read in chapter 4, 1 Samuel chapter 4. And we're going to see the birth of a child and the name of the birth of the name of the child that was born and how it coincides with the Ark of the Covenant being taken, the presence of God being taken away from Shiloh. 1 Samuel 4. And the word of Samuel came to all Israel. Now Israel went out against the Philistines to battle and pitched beside Ebenezer, and the Philistines pitched at Aphek. And the Philistines put themselves in array against Israel. And when they joined battle, Israel was smitten before the Philistines, and they slew of the army in the field about 4,000 men. And when the people were come into the camp, the elders of Israel said, Wherefore hath the Lord smitten us today before the Philistines? Let us fetch the ark of the covenant of the Lord out of Shiloh unto us, that when it cometh among us, it may save us out of the hand of our enemies. So the people sent to Shiloh, that they might bring from thence the ark of the covenant of the Lord of hosts, which dwelleth between the cherubims. And the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, were there with the ark of the covenant of God. And when the ark of the covenant of the Lord came into the camp, all Israel shouted with a great shout, so that the earth rang again. And when the Philistines heard the noise of the shout, they said, What meaneth the noise of this great shout in the camp of the Hebrews? And they understood that the ark of the Lord has come into the camp. And the Philistines were afraid, for they said, God has come into the camp. And they said, Woe unto us, for there hath not been such a thing heretofore. Woe unto us, who shall deliver us out of the hand of these mighty gods? These are the gods that smote the Egyptians with all the plagues in the wilderness. Be strong and quit yourselves like men, O ye Philistines, that ye be not servants unto the Hebrews, as they have been to you. Quit yourselves like men and fight. And the Philistines fought, and Israel was smitten. And they fled every man into his tent, and there was a very great slaughter, for there fell of Israel 30,000 footmen. Okay, we're going to continue reading in just a minute, but I wanted to share some things with you. First and foremost, I think this was their own decision to pull the ark out of Shiloh. It was not an order of the Lord for them to do this. This was their own decision. This was not the counsel of the Lord for them to pull the ark, and this opened the door for them to be attacked and destroyed. And it was them doing their own will without seeking the guidance of the Lord. They were afraid, and they decided to bring the Ark of the Covenant out of Shiloh, and then there was no covering, there was no protection for Shiloh, and Shiloh then was taken. The Philistines fought. Israel was smitten. They fled every man into his own tent, and there was a very great slaughter, for there fell of Israel 30,000 footmen. Now, I wanted to say something. I was going to say this earlier, but when I saw that the Ark of the Covenant had come to Ebenezer, it had come out of Shiloh to Ebenezer. I wondered about Ebenezer Scrooge and why the movie Ebenezer Scrooge was made, and this has to do with someone who doesn't like the spirit of Christmas, someone who doesn't like the joy of the blessings of God, and so Ebenezer, Scrooge, and the way that all happened, and this being connected to the Ark of the Covenant and the glory departing from Israel, connected to Ebenezer. That's just a side note. I hadn't even thought about mentioning that, but I thought I would. So 1 Samuel 4:11, if we continue reading, it says, "The ark of God was taken, and the two sons of Eli, Hophni, and Phinehas were slain. And there ran a man of Benjamin out of the army and came to Shiloh the same day with his clothes rent and with earth upon his head. And when he came low, Eli sat upon a seat by the wayside watching, for his heart trembled for the ark of God. And when the man came into the city and told it, all the city cried out. And when Eli heard the noise of the crying, he said, What meaneth the noise of this tumult? And the man came in hastily and told Eli. Now Eli was 98 years old. His eyes were dim, that he could not see. And the man said unto Eli, I am he that came out of the army, and I fled today out of the army. And he said, What is there done, my son? And the messenger answered and said, Israel is fled before the Philistines, and there hath been also a great slaughter among the people. And thy two sons also, Hophni and Phinehas, are dead, and the ark of God is taken. And it came to pass, when he made mention of the ark of God, that he fell from off the seat backward by the side of the gate, and his neck brake, and he died, for he was an old man and heavy, and he had judged Israel 40 years. His daughter-in-law, Phinehas' wife, was with child, near to be delivered. And when she heard the tidings that the ark of God was taken, and that her father-in-law and her husband were dead, she bowed herself and travailed, for her pains came upon her. And here, connected with the departure of the Ark of the Covenant out of Shiloh, there came the birth of a baby. It was through all the news that was coming upon that when she heard the tidings that the ark of God was taken and that her father-in-law and her husband were dead, she bowed herself and travailed, for her pains came upon her. The birth pains came upon her. And about the time of her death, because she died, the mother died, the wife of Phinehas died, the daughter-in-law of Eli died while giving birth. About the time of her death, the woman that stood by her said unto her, Fear not, for thou hast borne a son. But she answered not, neither did she regard it. And she named the child Ichabod, saying, The glory is departed from Israel, because the ark of God was taken, and because of her father-in-law and her husband. And she said, The glory is departed from Israel, for the ark of God is taken. And I found it amazing that within the story of the Ark of the Covenant being taken out of Shiloh, there was a birth of a baby whose name was Ichabod, and Ichabod means the glory has departed. We are watching Tu B'Av. We are watching the day of weddings. We are watching the most glorious day within the calendar of Israel. It's one of the most joyous days, a day of weddings. The history of Tu B'Av takes place in Shiloh. And now we have, within the story of Shiloh, the original story of Shiloh, when the glory of God was taken out of Shiloh, there was a baby, and the baby being born is connected to everything else we are watching with the Revelation 12 sign and the birth of the baby, and it's the coming of the Antichrist. Really, it's the baby that is being born is the coming of the Antichrist. When will the lawless one appear? And it's the glory has departed from Shiloh, Ichabod. This happened when the ark was taken out of Shiloh, was taken to Ebenezer. The ark was captured. And then when they took down the ark to the temple of Dagon, then all of the curses began. All of the plagues began. And wherever the ark was taken to, there were plagues. And this reminds me of the plagues, the bowls of wrath. Those who take the mark of the beast will be overtaken by boils and sores upon their bodies. The curse upon the water, the curse upon the sun, all the people being scorched by terrible heat from the sun, all the plagues that will happen during the bowls of wrath at the time of tribulation, after the restrainer is taken out of the way and the glory of the Lord has departed from the earth. One moment, please. Ichabod, the glory has departed. The glory departed out of Shiloh. It was in Shiloh where the ark was, where the tabernacle was. When the ark was stolen, Shiloh was attacked and destroyed. Ichabod was born, and Ichabod's name means the glory has departed. This takes us back to this prophecy from Genesis. The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet until Shiloh comes, and to him shall be the obedience of the people. Is there a connection between the returning of the glory and Tu B'Av, when it was in Shiloh where they had these wedding festivities? It was there where the glory was lost. Will it be in Shiloh again where the glory returns? And this is the connection I am seeing between Tu B'Av, between Shiloh, between the glory departing, which represents the restrainer, the glory departing from Shiloh. Now I want to share with you, this article came out on July 25th, 2019. This is what we are right now, August 15th. We're basically 3 weeks from this article coming out. This just came out 3 weeks ago. And they have been doing excavations in the city of Shiloh. Let's read what this article says, because this is in the news. Right now, Shiloh is in the news. They're doing excavations. They're proving the biblical history of Shiloh with all that they are studying, the archaeologists and those who are doing these excavations within Shiloh. They're trying to find the biblical history of the first capital of Israel. Findings from tabernacle period discovered in ancient Shiloh. 3,000-year-old seal recently discovered at excavations in ancient Shiloh in Binyamin. Proof of our ties to the land of the Bible. July 25th, 2019. A 3,000-year-old Egyptian scarab used as an ancient seal was recently discovered at the excavation sites in ancient Shiloh in the Binyamin region. The discovery caused great excitement among the excavators. The archaeological staff officer at the Civil Administration, along with the Associates for Biblical Research in Texas, led by Dr. Scott Stripling, since this rare finding relates to the biblical story about the Israelites who came from Egypt to Shiloh during this period. In addition, an altar beam dating to the Iron Age was found. This finding reinforces the belief that the area served as a place of worship for Jews during this period. The findings are now being presented at the 8th Shiloh Conference to be held on Thursday in the ancient Shiloh area, where many panels will be held in the fields of Bible and archaeology. The head of the Binyamin Council, Israel Gantz, summed up the new revelations ahead of the conference. The rare findings in Shiloh are very exciting, powerful, and forcefully prove our historical truth and ties to the land of the Bible, to Binyamin. We invite everyone to be exposed to more amazing revelations at the 8th Shiloh Conference and during the entire year. Ichabod, the glory has departed from Shiloh. 2 Thessalonians 2, 6 through 7. And you know what restrains him now, so that in his time he will be revealed. For the mystery of lawlessness is already at work. Only he who now restrains will do so until he is taken out of the way. The glory has departed. The restrainer taken out of the way. The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, until Shiloh comes, and to him shall be the obedience of the people. I pray that this report and this biblical understanding has been a blessing to you today. This is Steve Fletcher with the trumpet for my people, the sign of his coming revealed.